Hello, welcome back to another episode of This Is Now. Um, when I started in this hobby, being a completist was a part of my approach to this hobby. I didn't really, have a desire to have complete runs of everything I collected, but certainly, once I start to buy the X-Men books, even though there was a period of not so good arts, not so good storyline, I kept buying because I didn't want to break up the run because I have been buying for a year or two or three. So that was part of my psyche. And sure, as I was collecting, I thought about buying the older issue of X-Men. But that was not a huge part of the way I approached the hobby in the 80s or the 90s. Okay? I collected the Fantastic Four with John Byrne. Did I pine to complete the run of Fantastic Four back then? Not really. And part of that is money, right? Money was tight, and I saw how expensive those older books were. Same thing with the X-Men Silver Age. So naturally, it was not something that was in my sight of vision as far as being a completist. As I become more successful, make more money, have more savings, sure, then I went back and trying to complete the run. But for those that follow my channel, I barely complete my Fantastic Four Silver Age run and X-Men Silver Age and Spider-Man run. I barely finished those 2 years ago. 3 years ago, yeah. That's how slow it took me to complete those runs. And they're the Silver Age, okay? They're not complete run of Fantastic Four from 1 to 700 or whatever. That was never a part of my psyche. Even when I have 13, 14,000 books, it was really a mixed bag of stuff that I have. That being said, certainly a lot more older collectors, people that have been in this hobby for 20, 30, 40 years, many of those collectors try, okay, that's a key word, try to be completists. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy thing for many people to do, even if money was not an issue. Prior to the internet, trying to locate many back issues was never that easy, especially if you're not comfortable buying without seeing the books or anything. Those old days of using catalog to buy back issues, right? That go through the 80s, even in the early 90s, okay? The internet didn't come around until the late 90s. So it was the wild, wild west as far as buying back issues, or if you have access to conventions, sure, you can do it that way too, but it was never easy to be a completist. But this is now. I think fewer and fewer collectors that enter into the market today had the desire to be a completist of any sort. It's just too much, right? As always, there are always exceptions to the rule. Okay, I'm not saying that every single new collector in the past 20 years are not completists. There are exceptions to the rule, but more and more new collectors are just key collectors. It's easier, it's faster to assemble a collection by just focusing on keys. Keys has always been something that most collectors, regardless if you're a completist or just key collectors, desire. That's why the term keys have been around for decades. Okay, it's not new. It's not as if like, oh my God, all of a sudden the newer collectors today just focus on keys. Keys, first appearances, has always been important. It's more important, more focused now. This is now, okay? But just take a look at the any old price guide, any overstreet price guide, even the very first one in 1970, it's already have certain keys, certain books with extra description to them because they were considered keys or important. Okay, so it's nothing new. Okay, I think the older collectors tend to be more agitated when they see the overly focused attention toward keys today. But it is what it is. Okay, I can understand the newer collectors today enter into this hobby with tens and thousands of books. Some titles have crazy amount of volume because of the reboot. It's overwhelming to try to be a completist to a character. Okay, if you love Wolverine, holy cow, trying to complete a run of Wolverine, that itself is a hassle because there are multiple volumes of Wolverines. So I get it. Okay, I get it how the hobby has changed where more and more people are just focusing on keys because it is expensive enough to just buy the keys, let alone buying non-keys. And as in a previous video, I talk about the focus on investment return. These things are not cheap anymore. So if you're gonna fork down five, ten, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars to complete a run, hopefully that run has a lot of keys in it, right? Because otherwise it could be dead money or a bad investment if you are buying a lot of books for a run that has very little potential to appreciate in values 5, 10, 15 years from now. And the way the hobby has been going, many non-keys, it doesn't matter if it is bronze or silver or gold, if you have non-keys, unless they are high grade, for the most part they are not going anywhere near the value that Overstreet would try to put on them. Okay, forget it. Trying to sell any of those non-keys, golden age, silver age, and bronze, and you'd be lucky to get half of the guide. If you're lucky, the lower the grade, the bigger the gap between what Overstreet says and what you can get on eBay or anywhere else. High grade, different story. It's always a demand for high grades because many people love high grades. Okay, so that's just the state of the hobby. This is now. Okay, the hobby has moved away from completist centric, okay, into more keys. I'm sure this video is not news, not a surprise to a lot of people that have seen what's going on with the hobby, because we know keys have been going up and up and up, and non-keys have been going for a long, long time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.